Hey guys, good morning. I want to share some things with you this morning. I'm gonna do this really short videos a couple of times a week about the things I'm thinking about, what's going through my mind and what I'm working on at the moment. So lately I've been working on ancestral traumas, and I kind of realized that a lot of what we feel and what we do is actually connected to the mistakes our ancestors did, and all the good things, of course, what they learned through the life. It's basically who we are. You can look at it through the spiritual kind of means, where you can look at it as if, you know, the knowledge of ancestors, like the Native Americans, would think that is passed on through generations with all the karma and mistakes. But you can also look at it as a way we were raised and we were taught to be. I kind of like to look into both directions. For example, if you look at the things that we are eating, like if we're eating the same food as our parents did, we're likely to get the same diseases they did. Also, talking about sexuality is kind of a weird one, because if you look at the last like 5 or 6 or 10 generations in your family, if you're a woman, you would realize that ladies didn't have much of a power in their lives, especially regarding sexuality. I don't know if, well, like all of you are probably from different parts of the world, but I was born and raised in Croatia, which is a Catholic country. We all know how Catholics are towards sexuality. So I actually did some of the digging throughout the sexual past of my ancestors, both through research and both through meditations, and I've learned that even if I dig up to the 10th generation in the past, the sexuality is still completely messed up in a matter where they're not even connected to it. And you know, looking at the chakras and looking at the energy, they became so self-destructive, and looking at themselves, they kind of blame themselves in a way for being sexual at all, which is a complete BS. But now looking at me, the way I was growing up as well, I remember my mom used to like take me to church all the time, and I got this little white book in which it said that masturbation is a sin. And I felt so guilty for doing it every time, but I still did it anyways. But you see how, as well, me growing up, my sexuality also wrapped up around guilt and self-destruction and punishments and, you know, being guilty for something. I know now that it's a complete BS, but at that time I didn't know, you know, this was the life I was living. And I literally remember thinking that God was punishing me with the life that I had because I was masturbating. Those things like that kind of injure you internally, injure you in many ways. And I can only just imagine how it was like for my ancestors. For example, my mom always told me that her mom never talked with her about menstruation. So when she actually got it, she was hiding it for years because she thought that she was dying. And years upon years later of her struggling, hiding, and living through immense pain, her sister noticed it and she had a chat with her. So you see, like, the legacy that we have, the legacy that I have, is my mother thinking that she's gonna die because nobody talked with her about any sexuality. So she made sure that she would talk with me about that, and so she kind of fixed it in a way. But then my mom, my grandmother, for example, my mother's side, always said to everybody that you know, when she was having sex, that she would just close her eyes and think about the motherland. So, you know, like, sex became something that you cope with, that you need to do because, you know, you need to do it, but it's not something that you enjoy. I think, like, looking at my mom, I think she did enjoy sex, but she could never admit it. So if we go further down a couple of generations, imagine how bad that was. And thinking that those things do not, do anything to us, it's foolish. But honestly, if you go further down the generations, you will get to the point where someone was okay with their sexuality, ages and ages ago, years and years before the religion kind of destroyed our relationship with sexuality. And you can ask those ancestors for help to heal up the entire generation. You don't have to be really spiritual. You can do it out of the need to actually heal everybody in your family. If you believe even in your DNA that there is they say if you look at your palm, you can see all the people that lived before you. So even if you believe that this energy is still in you because of the genes and the DNA, if you're not spiritual, you can still ask those ancestors that were fine with their sexuality to actually help you heal everybody else. And of course, if you continue making a good connection with your sexuality and healing it, it will eventually help. If you don't believe everyone before you, it will help everybody after you. I think sexuality is something that we need to work on, because sexuality is not just sexuality, it's also abundance, it's money, it's being alive and being here in the physical world. What's the point of living if you're not really living, if you're somewhere up in the higher spheres, escaping your physical urges and your needs and wants? Because what is sex if it's not another need, same as drinking, eating, and everything else? If we don't satisfy those needs, how can we achieve anything else in our lives? I mean, manifestation works only if you're down to earth, on the ground, and kind of grounding that energy of your wants. And how can you do that if all of your lower spheres are filled with guilt? You can't. That's what I realized. Because of all the guilt and everything I was feeling, I couldn't really ever move further down in my body, let my soul really inhabit all my body, not just from here up. And it's very hard to manifest anything from that space. And also it's hard to have a really healthy sexual relationship. BDSM taught me as well that pain was my connection to body, and was the only thing that was holding me to my body. That's why my body didn't want to release pain. That's why I loved pain and sex. That's why I suffer from fibromyalgia, eczema. It was everything, was pulling me down. Working on sexuality, I think, is one of the most important things that our generation can do, because our parents, our grandparents couldn't really do it. They could do it up to the point, but it was very hard. It's also really good for you if you can to get detached from those emotional traumas, even the ones from your childhood, and then whatever was happening in your past generations. There's my family, from my mother's side, there's so much guilt, so much sadness and pain. I've been looking at that, and the women almost went crazy from it. And it's a burden that I was carrying as well. Watching my mom dealing with these feelings and kind of taking that in me seriously injured me. And I realized, okay, I don't really want to work for all of them, for all my relatives and everything. It's not like I love them so much, but I will do this for me. And if it helps them, that's grand. I'll be glad to clear it up. I guess I was the one sent here to do it, because I didn't think anyone else would. Anyways, guys, it's a beautiful morning here. I'm really enjoying life at this point, at this moment. And I did a couple of meditations. I cleared up some shit, and I actually do feel much better. I might include the meditations if you want. I don't know, like this channel wasn't supposed to be very spiritual, but I don't know, like my life is kind of heading that way at the moment. And I realized through my sexual relationships that I got to the point where I really need to try something different, because, you know, I'm not moving anywhere. And might be interesting for some of you. Anyways, I'll do it. I'll do it. I might even record myself doing it. And I hope you all have a good day. If you like this video, if you like my channel, please do subscribe. It means so much to me, and thank you so much for doing it. Thank you for supporting me. And I hope you all have a good day. I love you.